Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, before I get started, I want to apologize for the super late video, but I had a really important ASVET test to take for the Navy, and well, I passed, so that's the good part. Just gonna be doing the physical next and see how that goes, but first step is out the way, so I'm very excited about that. I'm also pretty happy with the score I got too. So, with that being said, let's get into it. I don't even know who to talk about first. So we're just gonna start with Anna, because why not at this point? Anna is a character that just annoyed me over time. Something about her character, especially in this episode, just really highlighted why I really don't like her. And this kind of goes from a couple other people too. Because she's sitting there once again talking about Finn, talking to Finn about inviting his dad over, and you should invite your dad over because this, and you should do it for your daughter, that, and I'm like, and you should just sit there. It's been decades ago, you know, you gotta get over the hurt. I'm like, whoa, I'm sorry. So now you're just gonna sit there and tell him how he's supposed to feel? It just, something about that just really irritated the hell out of me. Because, you know what, let's start cleaning up some of this. Something about the fact that she just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And I'm like, why don't you just respect his decision of maybe not wanting to invite his father because of the stuff that happened in their past? But no, not Anna. She just kept going. And it just got annoying, honestly, to tell you the truth. At one point I just started looking at my phone because I was like, alright, so she's gonna go on her high horse, and I don't know. I don't hate the character, but she really is annoying. And I felt like this episode just kind of highlighted the reasons why I don't like her. Hell, actually at that point, they didn't even like finalize what's the dad gonna go. But of course, most likely the dad is probably going to show up for the wedding. Also, Chase comes in there, and you know, they talk about Willow, and you know, you're gonna sit there and tell her now, you know, now that everything is done, and you know, the reasons why Chase was like, because if I get back together with Willow, then they're, you know, Nell is just gonna sit there and try to use that, you know, against them. Also, well, Chase was sitting there also trying to get on the fact that, you know, he was also like, oh, you should sit there and invite Dad. But here's the thing. He didn't push as hard as Anna did. I think he might have mentioned it like maybe like once or something like that, and it really went nowhere, so he kind of just like gave up, or they just changed subjects. But Chase is also kind of nervous about telling his dad because, you know, he kept sitting there saying, you know, Willow's the one, and he just doesn't know how he's going to sit there and break it to him. Okay, so let's talk about the whole art thing. Because apparently somebody messed up the painting or whatever. Or they didn't really mess up the painting, but they painted it in a way that Franco used to paint, like his artwork and stuff. But everyone's sitting there looking at it, it's like, oh man. So Liz, Jesus Christ, she's another one. Here's the thing. I can understand why a lot of men don't stay with Liz that long, because she comes across as so self-righteous, so on her high horse. You know, here's the thing, she immediately comes at Ava like, oh, well, you did this, and, you know, you wanted him to go back to his bad boy ways, this, that, and third. And I'm just sitting there thinking, why the hell would she want her art, her painting, to look like that? How does that benefit her? That literally made no sense whatsoever. And what is she? And here's the thing: what does Ava get out of, trying to highlight the world to Franco's bad boy ways? Oh, wait, never mind. I just pretty much kind of answered my own question. But still, like, in that setting, it made no sense because that's not what she wanted. And everyone looked at that like, that just looks terrible. So it really just made no sense of why Ava would do that. Anyway, they go back and forth for a little bit. Hell, even Franco is not there defending Ava. And so they get into this whole argument or whatever. And it just, honestly, to tell you the truth, it goes nowhere because I think they separate for a little bit, and now you got, and you know what? Honestly, to tell you the truth, they kind of split up. So now you got Ava and Franco, and then you got Nicholas and Liz, because she had to step outside because she needed some air or whatever. So anyway, they start talking or whatever, and honestly, to tell you the truth, I'm not gonna lie, I felt like it didn't really go anywhere, except for the fact that Liz was just being the judgmental woman that she is. I'm trying not to curse, but Jesus Christ, she makes it hard. Anyway, you got Ava sitting there talking to Franco. Now, you got Lulu in the background just being Here's the thing. Before I really get into this, I felt like Lulu's character went downhill the minute that actress started playing started playing Lulu. And when, I guess, what was her name? Julia? When Julia was there, I think that's her name. When Julia was Lulu, it was the best. The minute this other actress comes in, it just goes downhill. Now, this has nothing to do with so much her acting, but just more the character in itself. Because she just turned into this self-righteous woman, and it just, ugh. So anyway, she's sitting there talking, she's sitting there talking to Dustin or whatever. 1 second. She's sitting there talking to Dustin or whatever, and tell me why this woman, I am trying not to use the B word. Tell me why this woman will tell Dustin out loud about Nicholas' plan, Nicholas' plan with his son. She's all like, oh, well, Nicholas isn't above treachery and stuff like that too, because he has this plan that he's cooking up with Spencer to try to get. I'm like, are you f***ing kidding me? Are you kidding me? When she said that, I was like, oh, this woman's a dumbass. This woman's a dumbass because. So anyway, she blurts out Nicholas' plan out loud, and Ava, of course, just happened to be on the other side overhearing that, so now she is just fuming. So anyway, the room clears out, and Ava walks back up to Franco. And what the hell was I actually now? So Ava walks up to Franco, and Ava is just fuming. She's like, oh, and see, I was going to sit there and let him out of his divorce, but now after what I heard, so she's just like, yo, I'm making Nicholas pay to the letter. And anyway, they separate, and Ava walks into Nicholas' room. I guess they're about to kiss or whatever, because it's one of those scenes where it's like they're angry, and you can tell they're about to have angry sex or whatever at all. They're like arguing with each other back and forth. So anyway, they do this weird, awkward kissing scene that, now that I think about it, they never actually even showed them kiss. But then Ava walks out or whatever, and they just kind of just both take a beat. And then at the bottom, well, at the other part of the house, whatever, you got Nicholas and you got Franco and Liz. And I swear, Liz just, ugh. So anyway, they seem like they're going to have a really good talk or whatever, and, you know, she explains why, you know, she doesn't like what Ava's doing and stuff, and just kind of just, you know, have your art stand on its own merit and stuff like that. And then Franco looks at the painting, and he starts taking interest in it a little bit, and they're saying, you know, back in the day, I would have liked it a certain way or whatever, and that just sets Liz off. And apparently Liz was, you know, when she was there talking to Nicholas, she was like, oh, well, I worked so hard to sit there and try to convince the world that he's not this way or whatever. And I'm like, I mean, that's just effed up in itself when you sit there and you really dissect it or whatever. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't have to be sitting there convincing anyone who Franco is. And you should love him for who he is, and everyone else can F off, you know? Instead of to say, oh, well, I championed for you, and now you're going to make me look bad, pretty much like, I'm sorry, I don't remember him asking you to sit there and be his personal cheerleader. Like, are you, no. Anyway, they get into another argument, and Liz just walks off being all judgmental, and just, oh my god, I feel like cursing so much. So she just walks off like the prissy little thing that she is. And Franco just kind of just, you know, actually tell you the truth, I don't even remember what the hell Franco did. But I think he was either standing there doing something. That was the end of the scene, I guess. So let's get into Maxi and Peter, because throughout the whole night, she's not sitting there telling Peter why she's feeling a certain way. She's talking to everybody else. She talks to Anna, which, by the way, that was something else that just annoyed me. So just right when Maxi's about to sit there and tell Peter what's going on with her and everything, Anna just shows up out of nowhere like, hey guys, what are you guys talking about? And I'm like, I'm partly angry because I'm like, this big-headed, and then I'm also just kind of angry because I'm just like, yep, that's typical soap opera logic, you know, just when they're about to sit there and say something and kind of get right to the heart of it, they just find a way to just drag it on, and that just irritated the life out of me. But anyway, honestly, to tell you the truth, their whole talk goes really nowhere. The reason why I say that is because all Maxi does is just unburden herself on Anna about the pressures of trying to fail everyone and this, that, and the third, and, you know, Anna gives her some sound advice, and that's pretty much about it. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I'm not gonna lie, when Anna showed up right at that crucial moment, I was like, I'm done. And let's talk more about Lulu, because she is just a gift that no one wants. No one wants her. What was I gonna sit there and say? So this is more into Brooklyn and Valentine, because they're at the Metro Court, and well, at first Brooklyn is walking up, she's trying to get a drink or whatever from Carly, and Carly's like, no, because of what y'all two did before, so no. And then Brooklyn is like, oh, well, I kind of need to apologize for a minute because of what I did. So Valentine comes over, and Valentine's like, oh, by the way, your son isn't CEO anymore. And so they tell, you know, they both sit there and tell her. And of course Carly gets an attitude, and listen, here's the thing. There's a fine line between, you know, being a mother and, like, you know, protecting your children and stuff like that. But sometimes I feel like she steps over the line so many times, you know? Like, even in this scene where she was like, oh, well, you know what? Both of y'all can just go over there, like, get away from me or whatever. Like, I'll have somebody bring your drinks or whatever. Honestly, to tell you the truth, at one point I almost felt like she just wasn't even going to serve them because, you know, she felt out that Brooklyn was kind of partly responsible for Michael losing his CEO position. and Valentine taking over. And I'm like, well, okay, Carly, listen. I get that you feel like your son could walk on air and do no wrong, but let's just be very clear about something. Michael wasn't the best at his job, okay? He didn't exactly win any favors as far as, like, getting the money, giving the company more money with his whole green initiative. And this wasn't the first time that I think that he got bounced out or was going to get bounced out of CEO. When Nicholas first got there, he came in and he took over, and because he had more experience, it made sense for Nicholas to actually run the company instead of him. Same thing with Valentine. Valentine has much more experience than Michael. So, logically, Valentine would be the better choice. But of course, Carly being Carly is just whatever. So anyway, at first Brooklyn was like, "Oh, you owe me an apology." And then when she talked about it, when she said it out loud, it's almost like she forgot why she was asking for the apology in the first place. Talking about, "Oh, you ousted me of my family, and this, that, and the third, and, screwed over the company as far as my family goes," and stuff like that. And then she was like, "Oh, wait. You are a good business person." And Valentine was like, it was pretty simple. Valentine was like, "Yo, listen, you couldn't do anything to stop me anyway. I already bought most of the shares. So, like, don't feel too bad." And honestly, to tell you the truth, that whole act of her getting upset in the beginning made no sense towards the end. So I almost don't even understand why they put that scene in there. And of course, Lulu comes because I swear, I'm going to try to not curse, but Jesus Christ, Lulu really does not help my mood. Because she comes in there and she's being all super judgy and stuff like that, talking about, "Oh, you could have helped out your family by doing this, that, and the third." And Brooklyn was like, "Well, you could have helped them out by, like how you helped them out when you published that article leaking what I did." And of course, Lulu got upset, but at the same time, she knew that Brooklyn was right about what Lulu did as far as messing up the whole, the merger or whatever with ELQ, the family business. But yeah, she wants to sit there and talk about how Brooklyn screwed them over. And then after Brooklyn brings up what Lulu did, instead of Lulu sitting there saying, "You know what, you're right, I shouldn't have did that, I shouldn't have really portrayed them like that because they have been my family too." What does Lulu says? "Oh, well, you still should have gave them a heads up, you should have said something," and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with her? And honestly, tell you the truth, it almost gets to a point where it's like, why are they writing her this way? It's like she gets so angry at Brooklyn that she doesn't bother to use logic or common sense. Even when Brooklyn was like, I did it so that way I can get out of this contract from this sleazy business person, and you would think as a woman you would understand. And it almost seemed like it took Lulu a minute to really like, yeah, I guess you got a good point. Like, what? I really just don't like the way they are writing Lulu at all. And to be honest, I almost don't understand. I probably don't understand. They've written her so badly that I'm just kind of wondering, why is she even still on the show? Like, why is her character on the show? Like, it's her. I personally would like another character, honestly, because I feel like they just kind of just messed her up way too much. Yeah. I feel like that's pretty much about it. I know this review is a lot longer than I expected it to be. I usually try to keep it like maybe 11, 12 minutes, but I really kind of had to get into everything because there was just a lot that happened, and then there was just a lot that happened. And speaking of getting into everything, since I already went over my time that I was going to go over anyway, let's talk about the Nurses Ball, because that's going to be happening tomorrow, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not looking forward to that. I don't look forward to any of the nurses' balls because I feel like they just take away from the main story of what's going on. And here's the thing. I'm not the only person that feels this way. You know, I was sitting there reading an article, I think this is probably online from Soap Opera Digest. And a lot of people are sitting there complaining about the nurses' balls and how they're just a waste of time. They're just a complete and utter waste of time. And I feel like tomorrow is just going to be a complete and utter waste of time of an episode. I mean, I'm going to watch, well, when I say watch, I'm probably just going to... I want to sit there and say I'm just going to record it and then just like fast forward past all the performances because I just don't care. I just don't care about any of it. But it's funny. Somebody actually said to Lucy, I think it was Ava, was something along the lines of, you know, you need to get ready for tomorrow because it's the one night that you're truly relevant. And I'm like, sitting there thinking, I was like, that was funny, but I'm like, that is so true. She's another character that I felt like they just butchered her character. Let's be honest, I felt like they butchered her character ever since she wasn't on Port Charles anymore. But yeah, the nurses' ball is just going to be a waste of time, in my personal opinion. I don't like it. I don't really care for the performances. I'm not even sitting there saying they're probably bad performances. I just don't care. I actually kind of want to watch Chase's Smooth Criminal one, because I actually like Chase as a character. And I figure, you know what, tomorrow, since I probably won't really, I'll probably talk about, like, I don't know, if they have any story, I'll probably talk about that, and I'll also talk about my thoughts on Days of Our Lives, because I've been thinking about that show for a hot minute. And pretty much just why I couldn't fully gravitate towards that show. But at the same time, I kind of still want to watch it. I kind of want to still see what's going on in the story, but I figure, you know what, maybe I'll do a tomorrow episode about Days or whatever, and just kind of my thoughts on the whole show, because I felt like I didn't gravitate. You know, for me, and I'll probably get into this more tomorrow, I felt like there wasn't enough characters in there that I truly liked 100%. You know? Or at least 90%. Hell, I actually had to pick out Jake, and Jake can sometimes be a dick. And I tried to pick out Ben, but, I mean, a lot of people kept saying, well, he's a necktie killer, so you can't like him or whatever. And I didn't truly hate him, but also, I felt like there wasn't enough characters that I truly liked. Like, Steve is a great character, but, like, I don't know. I think of it this way. When I first watched One Life to Live, there was characters in there that I instantly loved. Colin, Ty Treadway's character, one of my favorite characters. Todd, one of my favorite characters. Will was actually pretty cool. Will and Christian was pretty cool. But I felt like I couldn't gravitate towards Dave's characters like that. Anyway, I might do a separate video about that. Anyway, for anyone who's still watching this, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Be safe. I will catch you in tomorrow's review, unless, I don't know, the Navy calls me to fill out some documents. But, yeah.